Being a mom is hard. Being a young single mom is even harder. Joining me this week on Rebel Mom Boss is Danielle Corrales, a scrappy, rebellious mom of two, published author, and all-around boss. Her book, Deserts to Mountaintops, The Pilgrimage of Motherhood, was just published this past January, and she joins us now. Hi, Danielle. Welcome to the Rebellion.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, so happy to have you. I'm so First of all, love Threads because it allows
Oh,
me to
yes.
connect with incredible women with incredible stories. And I was really sort of taken by your story when you reached out, you're the best person to explain it. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your story, your motherhood journey?
Yes. So, man, it started a long time ago. I have, like I said, two kids. One is 3 and one is 13. So we have a lot of ranges of emotions, sometimes both at the same time, similar emotions. But I grew up in a fairly religious household, and um, when I was growing up, it was always just projected like you get married, you have kids, and then you live your life. And then I found myself at 27, pregnant, not in a relationship or with a partner. And then that kind of just, made a detour of my life. So I decided that I was going to do this and I was going to do it by myself. And I did what I needed to do. I found a job that paid well that didn't exactly love, but it allowed us to have an apartment, and my son was in a great daycare. And what was really interesting was the community that I found through people that I knew. I had a friend that I knew in high school, and she opened up her home so that we could live in one of her rooms for really inexpensive before we got our apartment. And just all of these other people, she introduced me to someone who became my nanny. I was in college at the time, so I was trying to finish that degree. I was like, this is really important. I have to do this. And so she knew somebody who used to be a nanny and was looking for more work. And so I met with her, like loved her. So she was a nanny for my son when he was little, for, 2 full days a week. And I trusted her completely. And I wasn't ever one of those moms that was like a hover mom. I was always really trusting of my children. Like I knew that they knew what they could do. And if they didn't, then they would figure out that they couldn't do that. And so I also trusted the people in my life once I got to know them. And she asked me one day, oh, can I take him to my parents' house? Like, I just need to stop by. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. You have a car seat. Why not? And that ended up becoming such a beautiful relationship. They would take him for an afternoon, they would take him overnight. And it was just like, I was so in awe of just the openness of people in our lives, and the people that opened their hearts to us. And, here I am, like this single parent thinking like, oh man, like I have to do this on my own. I just got to do it. But it was also one of those things that people started to come around. And I wrote this piece, not published, but just on a blog, where it was like, when I turned around and looked, like when I first started, it was just my chair. And then after a while, when I looked and I turned around, I saw that there was such a beautiful circle of people who also pulled up a chair. And they didn't have to, they just loved him and they loved me so much. And it really made such a difference to be able to have that type of community, and for people to say, do you need me to pick him up? Like, do I need to be on the emergency contact list? And I was like, yeah, I mean, if you can, that would be fantastic. And so that was sort of the early motherhood journey. Not only that, but like I write in the piece that was published, I lost my mom when I was young. So I was 14 when she passed away. And so moving into motherhood was really scary. I didn't have a whole lot of people who had blazed that path before me. I did have sisters, and I saw that, and they were great people to see, learn from. But nobody, was there that I could call at 2 a.m., when I was worried or anxious or whatever. And so I really had to just figure out a lot of things on my own. However, I had one of my best friend's moms end up just coming alongside me, and she became like a second mom to me. And so I talk about that in the book as well. But it was such just a beautiful season of life. And then years later, I met my partner who I'm with now. So we've been together for about 10 years, and we also have a child together. So she's the 3-year-old. And so it was just a whole different experience the second time around. She was planned, during COVID. Also, that was interesting. And I kind of stepped into something different. Like, okay, I've done this before once. And so I kind of know what to expect. And this was his first time having a child. And it was just really interesting to see him blossom and,
Mm.
all of those things that were like firsts. But it was also so beautiful that I had the birth that I wanted. I learned a lot from my son. There was a lot of interventions. There was a lot of things that kind of went awkward and weird and that I wouldn't have chosen for myself, but needed to happen. And then the second time around, I surrounded myself with, all of the people that would support me. And I had a beautiful birth at a birth center. And, here we are a couple years later, and my daughter is just thriving. We live with my sister. And so, like, this little communal living, multi-generational sort of thing. And her daughter lives here too. So it's the 4 of us and the 2 of them. And it's just been such a interesting road. When you're young and naive, you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna get married by this time, I'm gonna have this many kids, and I'm gonna do this. And when things don't go that way, you kind of have to sit back and evaluate what do I want, where do I want to go. And now being over 40, it's like I can do whatever I want, I can go wherever I want, and I make the path. And even though I've had these experiences that have really shaped me and have probably hurt me and, brought me some trauma, I owned that. Like, that is my story, and that's my story to tell others. And, when I was going through this process of writing the book, we had a group of women, and the lead author would always say, like, your story can be, a textbook for someone else who's going
Mm.
through something, and a testament to, hey, like, I survived as well, and you have the power to survive too. And so it was just such like a amazing process, but also to remember, like, okay, I am not a silo. I'm not, an island, and many people go through similar things, and I can tell my story because it might help somebody else. It might help somebody, and it might make them feel less alone. So in a nutshell, 2 kids, 10-year age gap, which I think, probably wouldn't have, thought in the beginning that I wanted that, but it's kind of nice because I have a built-in babysitter who can watch the baby, or not the baby, but the toddler if I need to run somewhere, or, hey, can you watch her? Can you grab this? Or can you entertain her for a couple minutes while I, do whatever. So yeah, that's how we got where we are now.
And they'll get along great because I'm the oldest of 4. So there is an 11-year gap between me and my youngest, my brother. So, and like, we get along fine. But it is very interesting because when I think, like, I moved out at 19, my brother was only 8. Like, he was just a kid, right? So, like, when I was thinking in retrospect, I was like, my brother and I didn't really grow up together.
Right.
Like, I mean, I grew up with him, but he didn't really grow up with me. Like, I was,
he was older.
I came home on the weekend to do my laundry. Like, that was our relationship. But it's very different than, my sister who's 4 years younger
like
than
closer
me.
in age.
Exactly. But it works out. We're still close. So it's all good.
That's good. Yeah. See, I like that.
Exactly. So, okay, I have nothing but the utmost respect for single moms. I think, honestly, single moms are probably some of the strongest human beings in the world because I sort of the through line we've seen through this podcast is that sort of lack of community and lack of village. They say it takes a village to raise a child, and I feel like in 2025 there just isn't much of a village anymore.
Right.
And that is just, tenfold for single moms who don't have that partner in it with them on that day-to-day basis. What are some of the ways that people showed up for you when you were a single mom that made the biggest impact?
So aside from like friends who would come over, when you're going into a space, especially like a lot of the friend group that I had didn't have kids. And so it was always, there were times where I was missing out on things because it was, a nighttime or whatever. But I had one friend who, whenever I came over, she would always have something for him to do, like some, hey, do you want to do, puzzles, or you want to color, or, and really just embracing that the life of somebody who does have a child, because it is very different, and inviting us, hey, what time works, I know there might be nap time or whatever, which is always the scheduling, but when they would open their lives to us, and if you need it at a different time, or how about we do it early, I know he has to go to bed at a certain time, or why don't we go to someplace that's family friendly, and just really being cognizant of those sort of situations was really something that was just really touching. Like, you didn't have to do that, but you did, and that meant a lot to me, because that means that you and I can have these hangout times, or these times where we can catch up, and, my son's playing, or like Legos or cars or whatever. And you had a little basket at your house. And I think that that was really special. And not only that, but like having mom friends who either are in the same position, or even have, maybe they have a partner who works a lot, or they're separated or something like that. Like, I found a lot of people like that. And so we just wrangle all the kids together, go to someone's house, and be like, okay, we're gonna make breakfast, and so all the kids are playing, and they can play with each other. And even if they weren't like the same ages, it was like, just like, I'm gonna watch all the kids, you're gonna go do that, I'm gonna watch all the kids. And so I think that those types of things where people were really open, like, this might not be, I might not have kids, but I'm gonna invite you in and accommodate because you do have kids, was really something that was big, because there was a lot of friends who I had like, oh, let's go at noon. And I'm like, okay, well, that's nap time, I can't go at that time, or like, oh, 9 p.m. And I'm like, well, I don't have a babysitter. So, I can't do that. So I did miss out on a lot of things, but there were people who were so willing to be accommodating. And, those other people who did have kids, that it was just like, just bring them over. Like, I'll just throw them with all the other kids, and we have all the stuff, which was also really nice. Like, oh, do you need a pack and play for nap time? Do you need, we got this little table, we can do this, we can do that. And just, not feeling like you were so alone. Like, I'm going to have to bring my kid. I'm going to have to bring all the things. I'm going to have to hold him the whole time, or, keep an eye on him, and like not really be able to engage in conversation. But those people who just surround you, who are like, yeah, I can do this too. Like, yeah, no problem. Was, I think, one of the biggest things.
For sure. It reminds me, every time I go to my dad's house, my dad lives around the corner from me. So we see him a lot. But every time we go to his house, by the time I get there, he's already put like a gate on the stairs. He's brought out some toys for my daughter. He'll like put Cocoa Melon on the TV. Like, exactly. He's brought out a sippy cup. Like, he has all the things. So it's so much easier to go to someone's house, because then you don't have to bring all those things.
Yes.
Because, oh my goodness, these tiny little humans,
they require so much.
I know.
Yes, a lot of accessories. Exactly.
It's wild. Okay, I want to talk a bit about your book, because I think it's really cool. So it's called Deserts to Mountaintops, The Pilgrimage of Motherhood. It just came out in January. Now, it's an anthology, right? It's you and a bunch of other moms?
Yes. So Jessica Buchanan is the lead author, and she also is the owner and founder of Soul Speak Press. And she has an amazing story as well. She was kidnapped by Somali pirates when she was doing humanitarian work, and was captured in the desert for 93 days, I believe, until she was rescued by SEAL Team 6. So she has this, amazing, amazing story. And she decided that she was going to start a publishing company and start these anthologies just to help women tell their stories. And so she has a couple other of them, other anthologies, but this was the first one around motherhood. So there was 21, along with Jessica, 21 other women who, told their stories in this anthology. And there's even one person who isn't technically like has, their own biological child. And I think what's nice about this book is that there's really something for everybody. So there are stories of, one woman dealt with cancer with her son, and how that, how they moved through that. And there's another woman who was really looking for, what was wrong with, she was having all of these different experiences in her body, and we couldn't figure it out until she met somebody and they really took an interest in her. There's other stories just that are so amazing, of resilience. One woman was trafficked, which is, just just so crazy and heartbreaking, but she came out the other side, and she has a beautiful family. And so it took about a year. And so we started with just, these group calls, and Jessica would lead it. And then we started writing, and we did the drafts with her. So she would go through, because she's a teacher by trade, before she got into all of this. And so she kind of enjoys doing that still. And so she'd read all of them, and then we'd have a one-on-one call with her. And then, we went through all of these processes, group calls, went to the copy editor, and then, kind of went through this process. And we did a book trailer as well, which was really fun. And just during this process, I got to know some of these people really well. And it just made me realize that everybody has a different journey, but we have so many things that are similar. We've all felt isolated. We've all felt overwhelmed. We've all felt like, I just need a break. And if that's not going to happen, then something might give, and so it's just really so beautiful to see all of these, stories out there. And we've been, all of us have done different things with them, whether we've been on podcasts to be able to talk about it, or just taken to social media to let other people know about it. So it was a really fun experience. And then to open a book and see it in there, you're like, wow, this is crazy. And so it's out in the world now, and it is available on Amazon. It's also available if you wanted to buy it at an independent store, they could order it as well. And so, yeah, it's just been a great experience, and kind of just one of probably my most just accomplishments that I'm really, really proud of. One of them is finishing college while I had a toddler, a young child. I think he was 1 when I graduated. Yes, yay, I made it. And then also now this, being able to also have something for my kids to see, be like, here, I wrote this. And, and I had a lot of conversations with my son, because he's now 13. And, we've had these conversations about his life and, the relationship that I had with his father, and just how we struggled when he was little. He doesn't, really remember that. So it's just been a really interesting journey to do this, and also really challenging, because you're kind of going through and moving through these experiences again, but in such a healing way.
For sure. Motherhood seems to be the ultimate motivator. I always tell people, I never understood why having kids and being a mom is seen as a detriment in the workplace.
Right. Mm-hmm.
When in reality, moms are usually the most resourceful people I know, the most organized people I know, the hardest working people I know. Yeah. And I really think every time I have a conversation you and I are having right now, I'm always just blown away by what a mom can do, because I feel like the love we have for our children is the ultimate motivator.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
To get things done. Oh, okay. Yeah. Danielle Corrales, check out her book, by the way, Deserts to Mountaintops, The Pilgrimage of Motherhood. It's on Amazon, or you can go to your independent local bookstore, especially if it's a woman-owned bookstore. Go check it out and get them to order a copy of it for you. Thank you so much for being here today, Danielle. Really appreciate it. If you like what you heard today, make sure you follow and subscribe to Rebel Mom Boss with Robin Flynn wherever you get your podcasts. Oh, and make sure to leave a review, because that's how other moms will find the podcast too. Until next week.